Hey guys, welcome back to Film Feature 43. Today we're going to talk about the fact that Nick Fury is a Skrull. Now you might be asking yourself, what's a Skrull? What's a Nick Fury? And my answer to those questions are, I think you clicked on the wrong video. But to give you kind of a simple breakdown, Nick Fury's
Director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the Skrulls are an alien race from outside of Earth who can become anything that they want to be just by seeing it. They're shapeshifters, essentially. The Skrulls were first introduced in Captain Marvel, and then we saw them in Spider-Man Far From Home, where it was revealed that Nick Fury was the king head leader Skrull all along, named Talos, and Maria Hill, which is Nick Fury's number 2, was Talos' wife, Soren, and we don't know for how long. That's what I want to look at today. I want to kind of throw my opinion out there of when I think Nick Fury was Nick Fury and when I think that Nick Fury was Talos. This might seem like an arbitrary video to put out because Captain Marvel and Spider-Man Far From Home both came out in the before times when you were able to go out to a movie theater and actually watch these films. But the reason I'm doing it is we just got Nick Fury in a What If, and Samuel Jackson reprised his role in that. And that kind of got me thinking about this. And also, we're getting a Secret Invasion TV series on Disney+, which, in the comics at least, follow the Skrulls and them infiltrating Earth at the highest ranks and pretending to be superheroes and all that fun stuff. So I kind of wanted to put this out just to put my opinion out and have a little bit of fun with it. So let's get into it. So before diving into all of the MCU films with Nick Fury and with the Skrulls in them, I decided to look at the internet and see what the internet's consensus on when Nick Fury was Nick Fury. And a lot of people agree with one or two particular movies that they know that the switch happened. Some people think that he was Talos for one movie, the next movie it was Nick Fury, and back and forth and back and forth. So there's some consensus, but there's really not. The only kind of outlier that I saw happened to be actually Wikipedia, which said that they think that Nick Fury was Nick Fury up until Endgame, and then somewhere in between Endgame and Far From Home, that's where the switch happened. I don't actually agree with that, and I think we get a little bit of evidence to prove that wrong. We're looking at the evidence. The proof is in the pudding. So what do we know about Nicholas Joseph Fury?
Nicholas Joseph Fury. We have 3 names.
So he was introduced in the first MCU film, which is Iron Man, and he is kind of the brainchild behind the Avengers initiative.
I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger initiative.
He's there every step of the way, recruiting special individuals to be part of his big superhero team. He's the glue that holds them together in the Avengers. The next time we see him, he's actually fake out killed by the Winter Soldier after he's almost real killed by the Winter Soldier, only escaping because he has a special tool that can cut through like 4 feet of asphalt into the sewers, where he made his escape. He returns to rally the troops in Avengers Age of Ultron, where he actually shows up at the end with a helicarrier to save the day and save the citizens of Sokovia. He skips out on Captain America Civil War, and he skips out on most of Infinity War until we see that he's dusted at the end of that film.
Well done.
The next time we see him actually comes chronologically first in the MCU timeline with these films that we're talking about, and that is the movie Captain Marvel, where we go back to 1995, and he's there running around with Captain Marvel trying to help the Skrull people. This is the first time in the canon we've seen the Skrulls, at least in their natural form. Spoiler alert, that means that I think that we saw Skrulls in disguise before we actually saw them in Captain Marvel. In this film, we learn a lot about Skrulls. First thing we learn is Skrulls tend to revert back to their Skrull form when they're mortally wounded. We see this a couple times throughout Captain Marvel. Second thing, they have to see the object before they can turn into it. And I say object because I don't think it has to be organic material, because they mention a filing cabinet, and Talos, or however you want to say it, says,
"Why would I turn into a filing cabinet?"
Not no, I can't turn into filing cabinets. So I think they have the ability, they just don't tend to turn into inanimate objects. 3, Talos has a family, and not only specifically a family, but he has a wife. And we see his wife Soren take the form of Maria Hill. Logic would dictate a film with Nick Fury as Talos would also have Maria Hill in it somewhere because they're going to be close together since they're husband and wife. 4.
Skrulls can only sim recent memories of their host bodies.
So if Nick Fury acts in a way that we wouldn't think Nick Fury would act, that might be a good indication that he's a Skrull. And number 5, they can match DNA.
We talking cheek swab or urine sample?
No, the DNA would match.
We also learn a lot about Nick Fury in this film. Number 1,
Everybody calls me Fury. Not Nicholas, not Joseph, not Nick.
so he says. Number 2, he has a pager that can contact Captain Marvel to bring her to Earth for emergencies only. So apparently Loki and Ultron weren't big enough emergencies for him to call, but everybody, at least half of the universe being dusted, is a big enough emergency for Captain Marvel to be called. Third thing we learn,
Toast is cut diagonally. I can't eat it.
4, his eye was scratched out by the last person he trusts.
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
It was scratched out by a Flurgan cat hybrid thing.
Oh, motherfucking!
That's not really significant. I just think it's a really dumb thing to add to these movies, and I wanted to air my grievances here, so let's go back to the timeline. We then fast forward to 2023, where Fury is reconstituted with half of the life in the universe and attends Tony Stark's funeral, and then he mucks about in Europe, bothering Spider-Man on Spider-Man's vacation, school trip thing, where we find out that it was Talos all along. With this information at hand and kind of knowing the timelines, let's go Skrull hunting. So I watched all the films with Nick Fury in them. The good, the bad, the ugly. The last 2 weeks I've been watching MCU films, and I kind of think I have a timeline of when I think Fury is Fury. From Iron Man, or really Captain Marvel, which would come first chronologically, the whole way through the beginning of Winter Soldier, the Nick Fury that we see is the one and only Nick Fury. A lot of people on the internet think that the moment that he is shot was actually a Skrull. I don't agree with that, just for the fact that when we see Skrulls shot or injured elsewhere mortally in the MCU, and by that I mean Captain Marvel, they tend to turn back into their Skrull form. So I think that being shot through the chest, you're kind of more focusing on that wound than trying to be Samuel Skrull Jackson. So I think that that point is still Nick Fury. I think Nick Fury in the hospital bed is still Nick Fury. Where I think the switch happens is when they're in the tunnels hiding from Hydra, and we're trying to make a plan about how they're going to take down Hydra. The reason I think this is because he seems to make a miraculous recovery. I know that the Nick Fury in the Captain America Winter Soldier finale is a Skrull because Nick Fury himself couldn't make a recovery that fast, but a Skrull who actually wasn't shot could make that recovery to be the hero in the finale that we see Nick Fury being. This is the first should-be canon appearance of Talos. The reason I think this is, besides the miraculously recovering, Talos would be able to copy Nick Fury's DNA and the scar on his eye.
You need to keep both eyes open.
To allow him to get into the government facilities. We know that he can at least copy fingerprints from Captain Marvel because he was able to get into the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility to try to capture Nick Fury and Captain Marvel. So I don't think it's impossible for him to copy the Flurgan scratch. Also, Pierce calls Fury Nick.
It's the next step, Nick.
And Nick doesn't correct him because that's something that Talos wouldn't find odd.
You have the courage to take it?
No, I have the courage not to.
Because that is an old memory of everyone, including Nick's mother, calling him Fury. So this might be all circumstantial. I say throw that on to just a little bit of pile evidence. It's not really concrete at that point, but I think that the Nick Fury that we get in Age of Ultron is 100% a Skrull. A lot of people say this online, and their reasoning is because Nick Fury cuts a sandwich diagonally and eats it, where he says,
"A toast is cut diagonally, I can't eat it."
Which is a weird thing to bring up if it wasn't going to be used later to prove that he was a Skrull. I couldn't really tell if he cut the sandwich diagonally. He rips it apart anyway. So you can throw that on the pile of evidence. I think what more damning evidence is in this film is the fact that Nick Fury gives this big speech, and he starts it out with,
Here we all are, back on Earth. Back on Earth.
nobody besides Nick Fury in that room has ever left Earth.
Who here hasn't been to space?
So why would he say that we're back on Earth if no one in that room ever left Earth to begin with? The only person that he could be talking to would be Thor, and Thor wasn't even there. He had already left. So to me, that's a weird slip of the tongue to say that maybe this isn't Samuel Jackson, because nobody in that room would know that Samuel Jackson had ever left Earth to begin with, and nobody else had also ever left Earth to begin with. So why say we're back on Earth? Again, that's not really a smoking gun, but that can go onto the pile of damning evidence to go against Talos Nick Fury. Fury is then oddly absent during Civil War and the first part of Infinity War. You think that his brainchild, his group, his Beatles breaking up would be cause enough for him to come out of hiding if Ultron was cause enough for him to come out of hiding, but he doesn't. The next time we see him is at the end of Infinity War, where he's dust out of existence with Maria Hill. So there you have it. I think that the second act, or the second half of Winter Soldier, is where the switcheroo happens, and we get the same Nick Fury Talos the whole way through Spider-Man Far From Home. Oh, you guys are saying that that wasn't really evidence, and it's not really a smoking gun. I haven't really given you a smoking gun for why I think this is true. Okay, that's fair. I forgot the biggest piece of evidence. The biggest piece of evidence that I think proves when Fury is Fury and Fury is Talos is his wife Soren, or you know her as Maria Hill. Through the Avengers, the whole way up into the first part of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Maria Hill always calls Nick Sir, or Director, or Fury. And I feel like that's a sign of respect. They are not really close. You're getting that everyone calls me Fury and shows me respect from her. Up until the second portion of Captain America Winter Soldier, where she starts calling him Nick.
See, now that's some bullshit.
And she calls him Nick there until the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. She might call him Director here and there, but mainly calls him Nick. And if no one calls him Nick, even his mother, it's odd that his work partner would. Not even work partner, really. She is his underling, not really equal, but her calling him Nick kind of shows at least some kind of camaraderie there that wasn't shown in the Avengers onward until Captain America Winter Soldier. So I think that is the smoking gun. All the Nicks that replace the Sirs and Directors shows that this isn't the same Maria Hill that we got in the Avengers or in the first half of the Winter Soldier. Once Nick Fury was shot, he knew he had to get out and go on some mission in space to get away from Hydra, so he put Talos in his position.
Everything kind of went off the rails, and so we need you to come back, because everyone kept asking me where the Avengers are, and I don't know what to say to that, so you're lucky to find me.
And Maria Hill went with him, leaving Soren behind in her place. At least that's what I think, and I haven't really seen them point out this particular piece of information as I look through the different internet theories, but you guys let me know what you think. Do you think that Talos and Fury switched out throughout the whole film? Or do you think that once it was Talos all along? Or do you agree with Wikipedia and think that it was in between Endgame and Far From Home and we're thinking too much into it? Whatever you think, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.